Karen Allen made her screen debut in Animal House, but a pivotal scene almost didn't happen when she hesitated during a key moment with Donald Sutherland. It took an unexpected gesture from him to ease her reservations, convincing her to move forward. Want to know what changed her mind? Stay tuned for this and other surprising behind-the-scenes stories from Animal House you may have missed. One unforgettable scene involves the Delta fraternity stumbling into a roadhouse filled with African Americans, creating an instantly awkward tension. Originally, the studio was anxious about how audiences would react, considering cutting it entirely. Director John Landis later explained that Universal Pictures president Ned Tannen worried about potential backlash, fearing the scene might provoke racial unrest. But then, Richard Pryor, the iconic comedian known for his direct approach to race, stepped in. Landis arranged a private screening for Pryor, who afterward wrote Tannen a short, direct letter, "Ned, Animal House is funny, and white people are crazy." Pryor's endorsement gave the studio the confidence to keep the scene, cementing it as a memorable moment in film history. Another iconic scene centers on John Belushi's character, Bluto, causing mayhem in the cafeteria, building a pile of food, stuffing donuts in his mouth, and famously declaring, "I'm a zit." Believe it or not, most of this was entirely improvised. Landis instructed the camera to follow Belushi, letting him act freely, and the result was pure comedy magic. Landis himself was even set to appear in this scene as a cafeteria worker, but the moment was ultimately cut. Donald Sutherland, who played Professor Jennings, had a missed financial opportunity with the film. Though he was offered a choice between $50,000 upfront or a share of the film's future profits, he opted for the upfront payment, doubting the movie's success. With Animal House becoming a massive hit, Sutherland missed out on nearly $3 million. It's hard to imagine Animal House without John Belushi, but the original plan involved even more Saturday Night Live stars. Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, and Dan Aykroyd were all considered for roles, but other commitments kept them away. Landis ultimately chose lesser-known actors, worried that too many SNL stars might make it feel too much like an SNL project. The film's success prompted Universal Pictures to consider a sequel set during the Summer of Love in 1967, with the Delta brothers reuniting for Otter's wedding. However, when More American Graffiti, another 1960s-themed comedy, failed at the box office, the idea was shelved. John Belushi's untimely passing in 1982 ended any lingering thoughts of a sequel. The filmmakers also faced unexpected challenges recreating the 1960s look for the cast, particularly with hairstyles. Reports indicate that either the hairdresser required too much time off or lacked expertise with 1960s-style cuts. Eventually, Landis took over to ensure the authentic look they wanted for the film's setting. Taking action into his own hands, he brought the Delta cast to a local barbershop, asking if the barber could recreate the classic hairstyles of the 1960s. The barber agreed, and the actors all received authentic 1960s cuts right there, solving the styling dilemma. Maintaining the frat house, considering all the partying and chaos depicted in Animal House, you might think the actual fraternity house used in filming would be destroyed. Surprisingly, the University of Oregon's building in Eugene, where the movie was shot, remained mostly intact. The only lasting mark was a hole in the wall that John Belushi made during the famous guitar smashing scene. The fraternity living there at the time thought the hole was cool. Instead of repairing it, they framed it with a plaque marking the spot where Belushi left his legacy. Sadly, this piece of movie history didn't last long, as the building was demolished in 1986, only 8 years after the film's release. Kevin Bacon's humble start. Today, Kevin Bacon is a major Hollywood figure, but in 1978 he was a complete unknown, and Animal House was his first movie. At the premiere, the ushers didn't recognize him and, believing he was just another guest, seated him at the back of the theater while the main cast sat together. This amusing mix-up makes for a great story, especially since Bacon went on to have a successful acting career, becoming one of the most notable names from the cast. The University of Oregon. Here's an interesting detail about Animal House. the University of Oregon only allowed filming because the school president didn't want to repeat a past regret. Years before, the university had turned down The Graduate, the iconic 1967 film with Dustin Hoffman, without even reviewing the script. After The Graduate became a huge success, the president realized he'd missed a major opportunity. So when Animal House came knocking, he immediately greenlit the project, keen not to let another big film slip by. Ironically, while The Graduate won multiple Academy Awards, Animal House received no Oscar nominations, but it became a comedy classic nonetheless, finally giving the university its taste of Hollywood. Animal House's huge success. When Animal House premiered, no one anticipated its massive success. With a modest budget of $2.7 million, quite low even by 1970s standards, the film needed to make at least twice its cost to be profitable. However, it smashed box office expectations, bringing in a whopping $141.67 million, making over 47 times its budget, a rare feat, especially for a raucous comedy. Short-lived TV spin-off Delta House. Although a true sequel to Animal House was never made, the movie did inspire a TV spin-off called Delta House, which aired in 1979. Several actors, including John Vernon as Dean Wormer and Bruce McGill as D-Day, reprised their roles, and a new talent, Michelle Pfeiffer, made her television debut as The Bombshell. Unfortunately, the show only lasted 13 episodes before cancellation. ABC executives clashed with the creators, repeatedly toning down the jokes to make the humor more network-friendly, but this change ultimately watered down the original spirit, leading to the show's early end. Ivan Reitman nearly directed Animal House. Before John Landis was brought in to direct, Ivan Reitman was interested in the project. Reitman, who later directed hits like Ghostbusters and Twins, was one of the producers and was eager to direct. However, with only one low-budget horror comedy on his directing resume, Cannibal Girls, the producers opted for someone with more experience. John Landis, who had recently directed the Kentucky Fried Movie, seemed a better fit for the comedy style needed. While Reitman didn't direct Animal House, he remained on as a producer and went on to have a highly successful directing career. The real-life Delta fraternity. The wild behavior of the Delta fraternity in Animal House was based on real experiences. Writers Harold Ramis, Doug Kenney, and Chris Miller drew heavily from their college days, with Miller using stories from his time in the Alpha Delta Phi fraternity. However, some of Miller's tales were too extreme for the screen, so director Landis ensured that the script maintained a balance of anarchy and humor, keeping the movie outrageous yet palatable. Meat Loaf almost played Bluto. While it's hard to imagine anyone other than John Belushi as Bluto, rock singer Meat Loaf was considered for the role. Known for his theatrical performances and his part in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Meat Loaf hadn't yet hit stardom with Bat Out of Hell, released around the same time as Animal House. Ultimately, Belushi got the part, and Meat Loaf continued his music career. Still, it's fun to imagine what the film might have been like with Meat Loaf as Bluto. Karen Allen's scene with Donald Sutherland. Karen Allen, who later starred in Raiders of the Lost Ark, made her film debut in Animal House. In one scene, her character is in bed with Donald Sutherland's character, Professor Jennings. Director John Landis asked Allen to show her bottom for the shot, but she was uncomfortable with the idea. Donald Sutherland kindly offered to show his instead, helping Allen feel at ease on set. Her willingness to be vulnerable made her reconsider, and she eventually agreed to the scene. "I thought he was so sweet to do that," Allen said, "so I figured, if Donald's going to do it, I'll do it too." Harold Ramis, who co-wrote the screenplay for Animal House, had originally written the character of Boone for himself, hoping to play the role in the movie. However, director John Landis thought otherwise, feeling that Ramis, at 33, looked too old to convincingly portray a college student. As a result, the role went to Peter Riegert, who was only slightly younger but had a more youthful look. While Ramis didn't end up in Animal House, he went on to act in and direct some of the most iconic comedies of the 1980s, including Stripes, Ghostbusters, and Caddyshack. Otis Day, a memorable character in Animal House, became a real-life music star. Dwayne Jesse, who played Otis, embraced the role to such an extent that he legally changed his name to Otis Day. Although he wasn't actually singing in the film, he was lip-syncing to a recording by Lloyd Williams. Jesse's performance was so popular that he made Otis Day his official stage persona, even purchasing the character rights from Universal Studios to perform as Otis Day and the Knights in real life. This is a prime example of art imitating life. Stephen Furst, who portrayed the lovable Flounder in Animal House, has one of the most unique Hollywood casting stories. At the time, Furst was working as a pizza delivery driver. To get his resume noticed, he'd sneak his picture and resume into the pizza boxes whenever he delivered to someone in the entertainment industry. One day, he delivered a pizza to Matty Simmons, publisher of National Lampoon. Simmons noticed Furst's resume and decided to give him a shot. After a successful audition, Furst was cast as Flounder, and the rest is history. Another surprise casting swap involved Martha Smith, who played Babs in Animal House. Originally, she was supposed to play Mandy, the character who catches the attention of John Belushi's Bluto during the infamous ladder scene. However, when Smith realized what the scene entailed, she was uncomfortable and requested to swap roles with Mary Louise Weller, who ultimately played Mandy. Although this scene has been criticized over time for its outdated portrayal of women, it was a common trope in comedies of that era. The iconic food fight scene, when Bluto yells, "Food fight," may not be as chaotic as many remember. Interestingly, the scene itself only lasts a few seconds, with a single big shot where food is tossed into the air. John Landis, the director, explained that while it's remembered as a big moment, there wasn't actually much food fighting involved. Yet, it remains one of the most memorable scenes in Animal House, demonstrating how even brief moments can leave a lasting impression. Improvisation wasn't limited to John Belushi in Animal House. Verna Bloom, who played Marion Wormer, also got her chance to improvise. During her scene with Dean Wormer, where she drunkenly calls the mayor, Landis encouraged her to ad-lib, resulting in a more genuine and humorous performance that became memorable for audiences. Bloom, who passed away in 2019, enjoyed a long career, but her role in Animal House remains one of her most beloved.